Lieutenant Sarah Chen stood at attention in the briefing room of the Terran Defense Force's flagship, Indomitable, while her squad mates smirked behind her back. At 5'3" and possessing what the others called an unfortunate enthusiasm, she had become the unit's favorite target for jokes. Her obsession with ancient Earth history, particularly pre-spaceflight diplomacy, made her an oddity among warriors bred for combat. "Chen!" Commander Vakris barked, his scaled Draxian features twisting into what passed for exasperation among his species. "You're assigned to the negotiation team for the Korthax surrender. Try not to bore them to death with your historical references." Laughter rippled through the assembled soldiers. Sarah's cheeks burned, but she maintained her composure. The war with the Korthax Dominion had raged for 3 years, and humanity's alliance with the Draxians had finally cornered the enemy fleet near the Helios Nebula. The Korthax, a proud warrior race that had conquered 17 systems, had requested terms. "Yes, sir," Sarah replied crisply. As she left the briefing room, she heard Corporal Martinez whisper loudly, "Maybe she'll talk them into surrendering out of pure boredom." 3 hours later, Sarah stood in the sterile diplomatic chamber aboard the neutral station. Across the reinforced table sat War Prime Kethril, Supreme Commander of the Korthax forces. His 4 arms were folded across his armored chest, his compound eyes gleaming with barely contained fury. 2 other Korthax officers flanked him, their mandibles clicking in what Sarah's translator identified as disdain. Commander Vakris led the Terran Draxian delegation, with Sarah positioned at the end. A ceremonial inclusion, nothing more. The preliminary discussions went poorly. Vakris demanded unconditional surrender. Kethril refused, threatening to detonate his fleet's antimatter cores rather than accept dishonor. "Your position is hopeless," Vakris insisted. "Accept our terms." Kethril's mandibles spread wide in a threatening display. "We are Korthax. We have conquered worlds while your ancestors crawled in mud. We do not—" "Excuse me," Sarah interrupted softly. Every head turned toward her. Vakris's eyes widened in horror. "Lieutenant, this is not—" "War Prime Kethril," Sarah continued, ignoring her commander's attempt to silence her. "I have studied your people's history. The conquest of Helmar Prime. The subjugation of the Vrel Collective. The Korthax Empire has stood for 4,000 years. Kethril's posture shifted slightly. "You know of our glory?" "I do. And I know of the right of Kethranor." The chamber fell absolutely silent. The Korthax officer's mandibles froze mid-click. Vakris looked utterly lost. Sarah took a step forward. 4,000 years ago, when War Prime Kethranor faced defeat at the Battle of 3 Suns, he did not choose death. He recognized a greater warrior and entered the circle of recognition. He bowed not in shame but in acknowledgement of martial superiority. It was not surrender, it was the beginning of alliance. The defeated and victor united, and from that union the Korthax Dominion was born. Kethril's smaller eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of shock in his species. "How does a human know the right? It is not shared with outsiders." "Because I study not just battles but the meaning behind them," Sarah said. She moved around the table slowly, her voice steady. "You face us not because we are weaker, but because circumstances have turned. Your fleet is trapped, yes, but trapped by a force that has earned the right to stand in the circle with you." She stopped directly before Kethril. At her full height, she barely reached his lowest arm. "War Prime, I am the least warrior among us. I am small. I am mocked. I am considered weak by my own unit." She met his compound gaze unflinchingly. "But I offer you what they cannot. Recognition of your honor. The Terran Draxian Alliance does not seek your extinction. We seek what Kethranor sought, a stronger future forged from respect between warriors." Kethril's breathing apparatus worked silently for a long moment. "You understand the right, do your people?" "Not yet," Sarah admitted. "But they will. If you enter the circle with us, if you choose the ancient path, we will honor it. The Korthax will not vanish, they will evolve. As you did 4,000 years ago." The War Prime's mandibles clicked slowly, thoughtfully. He turned to his officers and they began communicating in rapid, untranslated Korthax. Finally, Kethril straightened to his full height, nearly 8 feet of armored warrior. Then slowly, deliberately, he lowered himself into a complex kneeling position that brought his head level with Sarah's. His forearms crossed over his chest in an intricate pattern. "I, War Prime Kethril, commander of the Korthax Dominion fleet, enter the circle of recognition. I acknowledged the martial prowess of the Terran-Draxian alliance, his eyes fixed on Sarah. And I acknowledged the wisdom of one who knows when words cut deeper than plasma fire. Sarah, heart pounding, dropped to one knee and bowed her head. I, Lieutenant Sarah Chen of Terra, witness your honor and welcome you to the circle. Behind her, she heard Vakris's sharp intake of breath and the confused murmuring of the delegation. But she also heard something else, a low resonant hum from the Korthax officers, a sound that her translator labeled as profound respect. When the ceremony concluded and the terms were negotiated, not as conquerors and conquered, but as warriors acknowledging mutual strength, Sarah walked back through the corridors of the Indomitable. Word had spread impossibly fast. The same squad mates who had mocked her stood in the hangar bay. As she passed one by one, they came to attention and saluted. Corporal Martinez stepped forward, his face flushed with shame. "Lieutenant, Sarah smiled gently. "Stand down, Corporal. We all fight differently, some with weapons, some with words. What matters is that we fight for the same thing." As she continued toward her quarters, she heard whispers following her, but they were different now. Respectful. Awed. Sometimes the greatest warriors were those who knew that victory didn't always come from the barrel of a gun. Sometimes it came from understanding that honor, respect, and the wisdom to see past immediate conflict could forge alliances stronger than any forced surrender. The Laughingstock had become the legend, and the enemy had bowed to her.